And thank you, Ash, for providing all the additional information that you're putting it in chat box. I think in my initial remarks, I just want to, first of all, I just want to give a big shout out for the great points that Sarita has talked about. I think all her points that have been talked about is very true. And when she was talking to me, I was really going and understanding about all these years the activism that we have been doing with especially UN system within the political arena. What I have realized over the period of time is that many times it is important for them to see community because they haven't seen community. For them, the references of the communities are very limited to the communities who are begging on the streets or creating nuisance to the society and all those. That's their initial perceptions. They all say, that many times when a person will do 1,000 good things, but one bad thing, people will remember that person for those particular one bad thing. So within the communities also, when we talk about it, is that when we talk about the key stakeholders and other people who are specifically remembering the community, they will, for them, it's always the communities who are part of the drug users community, or women in sex work, or transgenders, or men who have sex with men, or people living with HIV. There is an amount of acute stigma that is carried within those people when it comes to understanding the issues. The bigger part about it is that unfortunately the key communities are not part of the response. They are part of the service delivery, but they are not part of the response. Response, what I mean to say is that none of us are actually there sitting with the key stakeholders and policymakers who are receiving it. So what happens is that whatever policy is being made, you just have to abide by that rather than actually influencing to the entire pact. I will just give you an example. Like for example, when we talk about the transgender, when we talk about the transgender Nalsa judgment, we worked for over a decade on making sure that is we managed to get a historical transgender judgment, which has been reflected in various countries, including Nepal, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and also in other countries also. But when it came to actually creating a bill for transgender community, the government of India referred to the Australian intersex bill and tried to ostracize the entire community by zeroing it down the transgenderism or gender identities to the genitals rather than an identity or an expression for people. There's a very little information that is available for the about the entire community within the key stakeholders. As a result of that, the transgender bill that you talk about it is quite heavily loaded towards the Hijra community, but it doesn't talk about the transgender men. It doesn't talk about the other identities like Aravani, Jokti, and other people. And it doesn't talk about specifically around gender diversities within the transgender community. What I'm trying to say to you is that uh, stakeholders and key stakeholders and key policymakers choose what they want to believe about the communities. The other point that Sarita talked about it efficiently is about that we don't come in black and white, but there's a different, each community within the community also there's a huge amount of diversity, and it is not possible that everybody will agree to all the points. I'll give an example. On 15th April 2014, we managed to get a judgment from the from basically Supreme Court of India, which says that is transgender people has to be acknowledged as a third gender. Now the problem happened is that within the transgender community also there was a consensus about how they want to be identified. A bunch of people were saying that is, oh, we want to identify as binary, either a male or a female. We don't want to be considered as a transgender separately. Some of us debated about that, which is what is third gender. What does that mean by who's the first gender and who's the second gender? We defy that. We don't work around with those policies, and we work around with that. So I'm just saying is that reaching to a consensus and agree to disagree is the biggest problem that we have. For years we had a separate movement for trans women and trans men. They were not sitting on same platform and talking about their issues at one length and in uniform voices. So it required a major work. It required a major amount of activities and initiatives to make sure that these people come together and they actually start together discussing about commonalities which needs to be addressed. So it's a big Herculean task when it comes to perspective about that. The third thing that Sarita talked about is that we still don't have enough knowledge As much as the policymakers don't have knowledge about the key communities, we also still don't have a complete knowledge about policy making. To be precisely, I there might be so many schemes which are applicable to the high risk communities and minorities and other people, but we don't know how to avail them. We don't know whether we fit into those schemes or not. There is a larger issue about getting the things done which is required for these schemes to be availed. And because of the lack of knowledge, because of the lack of access to this access to the documentation or other things, we are not been able to create a very strong response through which we will be able to avail those schemes. So these are the larger problems that we are right now facing around with that. But the biggest problem that I'm trying to talk about is that the other larger issue that the community is facing immensely, especially around mental health, is something I want to highlight about. When in countries like India, mental health has been always been stigmatized immensely and not been able to address appropriately. None of the policies, none of the services, none of the guideline talks about elaborately around emphasize around mental health, depressions, and acute kind of illnesses which require to be there. We have huge amount of hospitals to treat cancer patient, other people, but a lot of people are extremely could be extremely suicidal because of the mental health depression, and a lot of us are not paying enough attention to that. The communities which are from the high risk communities are way much more has higher vulnerability to these aspects because the kind of lifestyle they live through, the kind of stigma that they face, the kind of issues that they face within the community and outside the community from their own blood relatives, family members, about rejection, about discrimination, multi-layer discrimination. In fact, Ashok Rav Kavi, who's also a very famous gay activist and also, somebody who started Humsafar Trust, used to always talk to me about the stigma onion, which means that you peel one layer at time and there's another layer of stigma which is already there for high risk community, which people don't understand and which we don't manage to kind of tackle around. I think while working with the UN system, many times, and Sarita has been part of the UN system as well. When we talk about working with UN system, UNAIDS and other things, they have to balance the act with the government. So many times they can't take a bold stand. It is expected the civil society should be taking a bold stand when it comes to making policy decisions or creating some enabling environment for the key communities. But when it comes to the systems which are supposed to be in advocacy, because of we don't have enough resources on advocacy, or because they are UN system and they have to balance with the within the government system, they don't manage to outspokenly talk about an important aspect which is affecting the key community. So those are my larger perspective that I just want to put it across when it comes to working with key communities and other related aspects. We still struggling with issues related to access to health. We're still struggling with issues related to the policy reforms. We're still struggling with the issues related to mainstream inclusion and mainstreaming of the issues. We still been secluded from the society as being part of the high risk community, and we're not being treated as an equal ground. So those are the larger aspects that we must work around with. And of course, there are issues around other structural barriers like gender-based violence, mental health, stigma, discrimination, which needs to be also, be part of the policy decisions and that should reflect within the policy framework as well. And that requires a larger advocacy.